After World War II, the communists, by 1948, had taken control of Czechoslovakia. And the Czech exile community, many of which had connections with us. Many Czechs, left the country because of communist rule. And our Abbot Ambrose, who became abbot in 1946, he was very instrumental in helping, sponsoring many of these Czech refugees to come to this country. So St. Procopius, many of our monks at that time had been born in the old country, and many of the others were second generation, and so the language was still. In the 1950s, you wouldn't have had any trouble conducting a Czech conversation with most of the members of the community, though some of the younger ones were not of Czech background by that point. But anyway, we were kind of a center for the Czech Catholic exile community. And so that community came to feel that the terrible things that had happened in Czechoslovakia, Nazi rule, taking over the country, then the communists following after World War II were almost a punishment for the desecration of this statue. And so a movement began amongst the Czech exiles to recreate the statue and set it up, waiting for the opportunity to bring it back to Prague, which obviously wasn't going to happen while the communists ruled the country. But who knows, maybe someday. So an artist was commissioned. It was created out of Carrara marble, which is one of the more famous marbles from Italy. Michelangelo used the same. And so our Abbot Ambrose, who I've already mentioned, along with the rector of the high school, the college also at that time, college and high school, Father Thomas Havlick, went over to Italy for the, blessing of the statue around 1954 or so. When it was completed, and I think that was in 1955, it was brought to this country, probably by ship. And it was then installed. There was a great ceremony installing the statue on the college campus, which was also at that time the Abbey campus. The Abbey was still located on the west side of College Road. And so very near to what nearly a decade later would become Launic Hall on the campus, the library. But anyway, there was a large crowd for this, and Our Lady of Exile became the name of the statue. It was on a massive pedestal with the idea that would be then brought to Prague when the time came. As we know, in 1989, the communist regime rather suddenly collapsed, shortly after the Berlin Wall fell in East Germany. And the possibility then became for the Czech exile community, we want to bring the statue home. It took a few years because, quite frankly, the Czech bishops, who all of a sudden have a free country again and the church can operate freely, had a number of things they needed to worry about first. So it wasn't until about 93 or so that the efforts really became strong to bring the statue back to Europe. And that occurred then. I was at the ceremony, and I don't know if it was 93 or 94, at which the statue was taken down. I don't know if the statue was taken down. There was a great blessing ceremony. And some of the people who were there in 1955 were also there in 1993 or 4, for this final ceremony before the statue was actually taken down.
I was abbot when the statue was sent back to Prague. Brother Sebastian, who was extremely faithful in keeping a vigil light before the statue for years, and Brother Rayfield went with me for this installation. Unfortunately, we could not put the statue where it originally stood in the Prague Central Square, for there was a beer garden there. It was installed then at a monastery in Prague, which was a form of Benedictinism. I think it was an important symbol, and it kept the Czech community in this country mindful of their homeland and their desire for reinstituting the faith in the country as well as its freedom.